Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Trudge, a journey to being recovered. My name is Dexter. I am a recovered drug addict alcoholic. Welcome back to the program. Hope everyone's doing well. Last week, we started the chapter called The Family Afterward. This is chapter 9, and we got about halfway. This week, we're going to pick back up where we left off on top of page 129. And we're going to try to finish the chapter today. It might be a little bit longer submission, but I think I'm breaking it up into 3 parts. It's probably something I don't want to do this week when I think we can push through and get it done. Hopefully everybody's spiritual awakening is taking hold. You're out there helping other people, sticking to the program of altruism and depending on the God of your understanding, because that's what this is all about. And as a result, the byproduct of all this is, you don't have to drink, drug, or whatever the issue that you brought to the table was when we first started is. So let's get started. Let's open up our book study like we open all our book studies with the third step prayer. For those of you who care to join, this is on page 63. It's highlighted pink. Pink stands for prayers. For those of you who have been doing this work for me from day one, and for those of you who are just joining, welcome to the program as well. Let's take a second, invite God in, and then let's just get right to work. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Thanks those of you who joined in, and let's get back to it. Second paragraph on page 129, it says, if the family cooperates, Dad will soon see that he is suffering from a distortion of values. He will perceive that his spiritual growth is lopsided, that for an average man like himself, and the rest of this sentence is going to be highlighted orange. It says, a spiritual life which does not include his family obligations may not be so perfect after all. So, here you are, you've gotten well, and you're doing all this other stuff, but you're forgetting about your family values. You're forgetting about your wife, your son, your daughter, This doesn't make for a fulfilling life, Remember, we're supposed to be practicing these principles in all our affairs, especially at home. If the family will appreciate that Dad's current behavior is but a phase of his development, all will be well. In the midst of an understanding and sympathetic family, these vagaries of Dad's spiritual infancy will quickly disappear. So remember, the man or the woman that's getting well early on in the program, they're going to be still making some mistakes. The family may want more at first. Remember, this man or woman that's just getting going, this takes time. It doesn't take forever. However, if he's practicing spiritual principles and following this program, but patience, tolerance, these are things that need to be practiced by the entire family for this thing to take hold, okay? The opposite may happen should the family condemn and criticize. Dad may feel that for years his drinking had placed him on the wrong side of every argument, but now that he has become a superior person with God on his side, if the family persists in criticism, this fallacy may take a still greater hold on Father. Instead of treating the family as he should, he may retreat further into himself and feel he has spiritual justifications for doing so. Okay? So, the family shouldn't be criticizing the person in question here. The person, obviously, it'll be obvious to tell if he's doing the best job or she's doing the best job that she can. Criticizing, argument, that fault finding, that may make that person retreat, in the things that you're looking for, the love, the comfort, the outgoingness, you may not get that because resentment may take hold and that person may retreat into, former behaviors, and may become resentful itself, okay? The next sentence, or 2 sentences, are going to be highlighted orange, okay? It says, though the family does not fully agree with Dad's spiritual activities, they should let him have his head. Even if he displays a certain amount of neglect and irresponsibility towards the family, it is well to let him go as far as he likes in helping other alcoholics. And why? Because, we've been smashing and hammering this point home on every other page, basically, of this periodical to this point, because helping others is the way to staying recovered, giving that back, that altruistic life. Eventually, you would like to think by giving so much, God will take care of you, that it all will take hold and your family life will shape up, Helping others is the way to staying recovered, and the book is just hammering it home more and more and more. Bill W. was out there, in the Boweries, and Skid Rows, trying to save these guys, and Lois was feeling neglected early on. But how did that turn out? And I'm not saying it always turns out well. Again, you cannot neglect your family. There has to be some kind of balance, but absolutely helping others is of paramount importance, and this book expresses that in a million different ways on a million different pages, okay? During those first days of convalescence, this will do more to ensure his sobriety than anything else, okay? I have that last part of that sentence underlined where it says, this will do more to ensure his sobriety than anything else. So if that's going to do more to ensure sobriety than anything else early on, you have to let this person do that. Because, look, all the things that you're looking to see happen to your husband or your father later on as he continues to work this program won't mean squat if he's not sober. So right off the bat, we're just trying to crawl before we can walk. We want to ensure the sobriety, okay? Let this person work with other addicts, work with other alcoholics. It is the way to growing spiritually. Though some of his manifestations are alarming and disagreeable, we think Dad will be on a firmer foundation than the man who is placing business or professional success ahead of spiritual development. He will be less likely to drink again, and anything is preferable to that, dude. Anything is preferable to watching that person go back to what his life was, what your life was when he or she was drinking and drugging, okay? Those of us who have spent much time in the world of spiritual make-believe have eventually seen the childishness of it. This dream world has been replaced by a great sense of purpose, accompanied by a growing consciousness of a power of God in our lives. We have come to believe He would like to keep our heads in the clouds with Him, but that our feet ought to be firmly planted on earth. This is where our fellow travelers are, and this is where our work must be done. Okay, so I'm trying to be down here on earth, helping other people, helping my neighbors, helping people I'm meeting out there in the street, people who are reaching out for help, other alcoholics, other addicts, helping others, okay? The next sentence is going to be highlighted orange. It says, these are the realities for us. We have found nothing, and the word nothing is going to be circled, okay? Nothing incompatible between a powerful spiritual experience and a life of sane and happy usefulness. They go hand in hand, okay? At least for me. And this has been the experience of thousands of people who have recovered from this illness, okay? It's like the peanut butter and jelly. They go together perfectly, A spiritual life, it equals happy, joyous, and free in this capacity. One more suggestion. Whether the family has spiritual convictions or not, they may do well to examine the principles by which the alcoholic member is trying to live. They can hardly fail to approve these simple principles, though the head of the house still fails somewhat at practicing them. Remember, spiritual progress, rather than spiritual perfection. Nothing will help the man who is off on a spiritual tangent so much as the wife who adopts a sane spiritual program, making a better practical use of it. So family members, this applies for everyone. It's not just the person who's trying to get well. Everyone gets well here, okay? There will be other profound changes in the household. Liquor incapacitated father for so many years that mother became head of the house. She met these responsibilities gallantly. By force of circumstances, she was often obliged to treat father as sick or a wayward child. Even when he wanted to assert himself, he could not, for his drinking placed him constantly in the wrong, okay? You're just not of sound mind and body when you're in that space. You can't be head of the household and be an alcoholic. You're just going to have too many problems. Mother made all the plans and gave the directions. When sober, father usually obeyed. Thus, mother, through no fault of her own, became accustomed to wearing the family trousers. The wife starts wearing the pants in the family because the husband can't do anything. Lois Wilson went out there, got a job because Bill wasn't able to. This was not unusual. Father, coming suddenly to life again, often begins to assert himself. This means trouble unless the family watches for these tendencies in each other and comes to a friendly agreement about them. This is where God's will takes place. This is where, communication takes place, okay? All of a sudden, father, or wife gets sober and they want to all of a sudden be in charge again, and start dictating again. This would be cause for concern. Drinking isolates most home from the outside world. The father may have laid aside for years all normal activities, clubs, civic duties, sports. When he renews interest in such things, a feeling of jealousy may arise. The family may feel they hold a mortgage on dad so big that no equity should be left for outsiders. This thinking, this irrational thinking of, well, he owes us. You know what I mean? He shouldn't be out there doing that stuff. What about us? Okay? Instead of developing new channels of activity for themselves, mother and children demand that he stay home and make up the deficiency. Okay? Dangerous ground. At the very beginning, the couple ought to frankly face the fact that each will have to yield here and there if the family is going to play an effective part in their new life. Father will necessarily spend much time with other alcoholics, but this activity should be balanced. And this is what I was talking about last week. You've got to have balance here. You can't just be so top heavy where all you're doing is working with other people and forgetting, your responsibilities at home or at work. Yes, working with others is the key to staying recovered, no question about it. But there's a balance that we're looking for that happy, joyous, and free equates to. You just can't be all top heavy on one thing and then nothing else. You know what I mean? I can't just brush my teeth till they hurt and then not wash the rest of my body. Part of me is going to feel dirty. This is all our affairs, not just specific instances, okay? So, new acquaintances who know nothing of alcoholism might be made and thoughtful consideration given their needs. The problems of the community might engage attention. Though the family has no religious connections, they may wish to make contact with or take membership in a religious body. Some people, they find a church to go to. Some people go to mosques, depending on what background you are, There's all types of different things, outside things that the families are doing. Alcoholics who have derided religious people will be helped by such contacts. Being possessed, and the word possessed, I have it underlined. That's the perfect word for me when I think about how my spiritual experience took hold. It got a hold of me and it wouldn't let go. At times I felt really possessed. I still do sometimes. The power of God and how it manifests itself in my life. Okay, so I underline that word. So being possessed of a spiritual experience, the alcoholic will find he has much in common with these people, though he may differ with them on many matters. If he does not argue about religion, he will make new friends and is sure to find new avenues of usefulness and pleasure, okay? So there's people that go to church, there's people that do all types of other things, Buddhists, Catholics, There's a lot of connections and commonalities among people like this. And when we close ourselves off to that, it keeps us isolated, which is not what we're trying to do. We spend enough time in isolation. There's much to be learned from these people without straying away from our own program, okay? He and his family can be a bright spot in such congregations. He may bring new hope and courage to many a priest, minister, or rabbi who gives all to minister to a troubled world. We intend the foregoing as a helpful suggestion only. Okay? This is just a helpful suggestion. So far as we are concerned, there's nothing obligatory about it. You don't have to do this. Okay? If this isn't part of your story, that's fine. I don't go to church. It's just not my story. Okay? As non-denominational people, we cannot make up others' minds for them. Okay? Each individual should consult his own conscience. Okay? Nobody's making my mind up for me. I get to decide what I want to do via my higher power. That's just how it works. We have been speaking to you of serious, sometimes tragic things. We have been dealing with alcohol in its worst aspect. But we aren't a glum lot. I have that circled. We're going to go ahead and highlight that orange as well. We're not a glum lot. You know what I mean? I believe if you're not having fun doing this thing, you're doing it wrong. This is no longer about surviving in this world. This is about living and having a good old time. Happy, joyous, and free, okay? If newcomers could see no joy or fun in our existence, they wouldn't want it. Why would anybody want what we have if we're not showing them how awesome it is? If we're not sharing that hope of how my life has changed and gotten so much better than it ever was? What's the point? Okay? This is also going to be underlined, and I'm going to go ahead and say, let's highlight it orange as well. It says, we absolutely insist on enjoying life. We absolutely insist on enjoying life. If you're not enjoying it, dude, something's wrong. Okay? We're doing something wrong. We try not to indulge cynicism over the state of the nations, nor do we carry the world's troubles on our shoulders. When we see a man sinking into the mire that is alcoholism, we give him first aid and place what we have at his disposal. Man, I am at your beck and call 24 hours a day. If you want help, you want to learn about these steps and the power of God, I put myself in that capacity for other people. Why? Because that's what was done for me. Why? Because that's what was done for our predecessors. Why? Because that's what they put on paper, and they want us to do this. We want to be available for these people. Period. End of statement. That's what this book is about, okay? So, for his sake, we do recount and almost relive the horrors of our past. This is where your war story comes in handy. Remember, your dark past, your musty existence, the dereliction, the degradation, it has a place. You can use this to avert death for other people, okay? But those of us who have tried to shoulder the entire burden and trouble of others find that we are soon overcome by them. And I can't fix anyone else. I can't worry about someone else's program more than they're worrying about it. It will overcome you, okay? Put yourself at their beck and call. Put yourself at their disposal, but you cannot do it for them, okay? So, we think cheerfulness and laughter make for usefulness. Outsiders are sometimes shocked when we burst into merriment, which is just another way of saying laughter, okay? Over a seemingly tragic experience out of the past. I've had some of these tragic experiences where now I can just laugh. Whether it was falling off a bar stool or peeing on myself or whatever it was. It wasn't so funny then. Now, oh my God, I can't believe that's the person I was. And we can use that, to our advantage and the advantage of other people, okay? But why shouldn't we laugh? We have recovered. Anytime we see the word recovered, it's circled, okay? And have been given the power to help others. The word power is also circled, and that power comes from the God of your understanding. Remember, page 45, POIVIP, lack of power. It was our dilemma. That was the problem. We had to find a power greater than ourselves, and now that we've gotten that, had this spiritual experience, we now have the power to help other people. Don't think you don't have something to give by this point. One person out there with like 1 day of sobriety, 1 day clean, can help somebody with no days clean. You have something to share. You have that power now. So everyone knows that those in bad health and those who seldom play do not laugh much. I remember, man, there was nothing funny when I showed up. Hell, there was nothing funny a couple years ago with double-digit years of sobriety and clean time. There was nothing funny because I was dying a spiritual death, okay? So, let each family play together or separately as much as their circumstances warrant. I believe that doing things together as a family early on, is very, very beneficial, but there are also going to be times where the man or the woman in question needs their space and needs to help other people and needs to maybe go to meetings or do other things with other people. It's absolutely a must, okay? This is one of my favorite paragraphs in the entire book, okay? This is POY. It is orange. Part of it's going to be yellow. And it says, we are sure. We are sure is going to be circled. We are sure. It's raining outside right now. I'm sure it's raining. That's what we're talking about. This is fact, okay? God wants us to be, and this is orange, but God wants us to be happy, joyous, and free. And happy, joyous, and free is going to be yellow because this is what's promised to you, okay? By doing this work, going all in, letting go absolutely, working these steps to the best of your ability, helping others, happy, joyous, and free. We've never seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed this path. This is what's coming to you, okay? That's what your God wants for you. Your God is not a punishing God. He doesn't want you to suffer. He doesn't want you to be miserable. He doesn't want you to die. No. Okay? You have purpose, and he wants you to be happy doing it. We cannot subscribe, continuing orange, we cannot subscribe to the belief that this life is a vale of tears. though, once was just that for many of us. And it was for many of us, man. I used to cry all the time, on the inside, on the outside. It was just nothing ever positive about life. I was miserable. And I did a lot of this with time, okay? With a lot of sobriety, okay? But it is clear that we made our own misery. Stealing while I'm in the program. Adultery while I'm in the program. You know what I mean? Embezzlement while I'm in the program. Lying while I'm in the program, cheating. A lot of people think these things only happen before you get to the rooms. There's a lot of us suffering like this, both in and out of the rooms. I'm one of them. I made my own misery, okay? God didn't do it. I have God didn't do it underlined. Because he didn't do it. I did it. My selfish, self-centered, self-seeking nature, my egocentric, all about me nature. I did that, okay? Avoid then the deliberate manufacture of misery. I have the deliberate manufacture of misery. I put parentheses around that. Look, if I know, if I put my hand on the stove, I'm going to get burned, then why am I going to put my hand on the stove? You know, I know if I do 80 in a 55, the potential of me getting pulled over and getting a ticket is there. Why would I do that? You know, why would I put my selfish, self-centered nature first and put myself in a position to be hurt? Avoid the deliberate manufacture of misery. If I cheat on my taxes, I know that the IRS may come after me one day. If I cheat on my fiance, I know I may lose my relationship. Avoid the deliberate manufacture of misery, okay? But if trouble comes, and I'm telling you, trouble's gonna come. You know, just because you are recovered and are living a clean life and things are good doesn't mean that life changes. It does, but bad stuff happens every day. You may get fired. You may get a flat tire. She may not love you anymore. A tree may fall on your car. You know, you may get sick. That's what happened to me. I mean, a lot of different things could happen, right? But here's the hit. Cheerfully capitalized. And I have those two words circled. Cheerfully. Okay, this is where you get an opportunity to say, you know what, my God's bigger than any problem that can come my way. Cheerfully capitalize it as an opportunity to demonstrate his omnipotence, that unwielding, that power, okay, omnipotence, that just huge power. You know, I got sick about a year ago. I thought I was going to die. You know, and it was about a year and a half into me doing this work, and boy, it was hard at times to cheerfully capitalize on that, you know, but I'm here to tell you, I gave everything to the power of greater than myself and God of my understanding, you know, and I pulled through. Not only did I pull through and was happy about the situation that occurred the way it did, because it taught me something. I learned from it. It absolutely was of paramount importance to my spiritual growth, okay? When stuff shows up, we give it to God and we get out of the way. And I love that because I was never able to do that for me. All it was, well, I'm just grateful to be sober today. Sober to be sober. I'm just another day clean. Man, listen, you could die a spiritual death with that kind of thinking. At least that's how it was for me. And I'm grateful today that it's more about the spiritual experience than it is about carrying around a coin. You know, the coin's important. Showing other people, yes, you can get a year, you can get 2 years, you can get 10 years. Yes, that's important too. But the book was written specifically for you to have a spiritual experience and for your life to change in all your affairs. That's what we're talking about here, okay? This is about power. This is not about therapy. This is not about process group, okay? This is about having a relationship with a power greater than yourself that will help you solve not only your drinking problem, but any problem that may come your way, okay? I'm getting fired up. I'm loving this. Okay, so now about health. A body badly burned by alcohol does not often recover overnight, nor do twisted thinking and depression vanish in a twinkling. Some of this stuff takes time. Okay, this is going to be highlighted orange. It says, we are convinced that a spiritual mode of living is the most powerful health restorative. That's been my story, and the story of millions of other people out there have done this work. We who have recovered, again, recovered is circled, okay, continuing on orange, recovered from serious drinking are miracles of mental health. Dude, the fact that I'm even doing this right now is a miracle. I should be dead. You know, I drank myself and drugged myself past human aid. I was on my way to a mental institution, to jail, or in a coffin, okay? We are miracles. The word miracles underlined. But we have seen remarkable transformations in our bodies. Hardly one of our crowd now shows any mark of dissipation. You know, I just feel different. I know I look different. I know I sound different. Everything about me is different. My liver's not suffering anymore. You know, I'm not giving myself, you know, taking years off my life with what I'm putting in my body, okay? The book says that, when the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out not only mentally but physically as well. But this does not mean we disregard human health measures. God has abundantly supplied this world with fine doctors, psychologists, and practitioners of various kinds. If you need them, use them. That's why they're there. Okay? Do not hesitate to take your health problems to such persons. I have a doctor, I had a psychotherapist, nurse practitioner, Chinese acupuncturist. These people are there to help you if you need them. Go, okay? Most of them give freely of themselves, that their fellows may enjoy sound mind and bodies. Try to remember that though God has brought miracles among us, we should never, and the word never is circled, we should never do this. Never belittle a good doctor or psychiatrist, okay? These people have our best interest in mind. Their services are often indispensable in treating a newcomer and in following his case afterwards. So it's telling you that we're not saying just read this book and forget about your psychotherapist, or you shouldn't go to treatment. You should just read this book, beat it against your head, and then start throwing it at other people. If these things are helpful for you, absolutely use them. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking treatment. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking therapy. These things are wonderful, but what's going to keep you sober is not the treatment. And I'll never back off that. God keeps me sober. Your spiritual experience, which is what will keep you sober. But these other things, they absolutely have their place, okay? One of many doctors who has had the opportunity of reading this book in manuscript form told us that the use of sweets was often helpful. I have sweets was often helpful underlined. I have a huge sweet tooth, so the book just kind of gave me an out. Me eating chocolate in the middle of the night, man, boy, let me tell you, I struggled with that for a while, and I find this part of the book kind of, it puts a smile on my face, okay? Of course, depending upon a doctor's advice, there it is. You don't want to do what I used to do, wake up in the middle of the night, eat a whole bunch of sugar and go back to sleep, just replacing the alcohol with another thing, okay? He thought all alcoholics should constantly have chocolate available. I have chocolate available underlined. I think it's really funny because that really equated to my experience. And this is what they were doing way back in the day when this was formulated, this book was put together. For its quick energy, value at times of fatigue. He added that occasionally in the night of vague craving, which would be satisfied by candy, So there it is. I was shocked the first time I read that because that really applied to me. Many of us have noticed a tendency to eat sweets and have found this practice beneficial. Interesting part of the book. A word about sex relations. Woo! Let's talk about sex, baby. Sex relations underlined. I struggle with sex, so I underlined it. A lot of people do. A lot of people scared to talk about it. Admit it. It is what it is. I got nothing to hide today. My story can help somebody else's, okay? Alcohol is so sexually stimulating to some men that they have overindulged. Couples who are occasionally dismayed find that when drinking is stopped, the man tends to be impotent. Never had this problem, but I find that interesting. Unless the reason is understood, there may be emotional upset. The first time I read this, I was shocked that the book was even talking about this. Just another example of how this is not just about alcohol. This is about life, okay? Some of us have had this experience only to enjoy in a few months, and I have a few months underlined, a finer intimacy than ever. My intimate life today is better than it's ever been because I actually get to be present for it. There's no mind or mood altering substance that's keeping me from the person in front of me, okay? There should be no hesitancy in consulting a doctor or psychologist if the condition persists. Again, these people are here to help. There's nothing to be ashamed of. That's why they're there, okay? We do not know many cases where this difficulty lasted long. Boy, it's amazing to see the stuff that they talk about in this book from way back then, 7 decades ago, 8 decades ago to now. It's the same stuff that people are struggling with nowadays, okay? It's just some people don't want to talk about it. The book talks about it. They open the door for this type of thing. The alcoholic may find it hard to reestablish friendly relations with his children. The young minds were impressionable while he was drinking. Without saying so, they may cordially hate him for what he has done to them and to their mother. The children are sometimes dominated by pathetic hardness and cynicism. It's hard to get the kids back on track, depending on what kind of damage was inflicted upon them, depending on how young they were. My son and I'm grateful we didn't have too much of that. Our relationship is fantastic today. But boy, I've seen some relationships that are just they're almost irreparable. It's sad to see. They cannot seem to forgive and forget. They may hang on for months, long after their mother has accepted dad's new way of living and thinking. Okay? Remember, everything is via our actions. They're going to understand via our actions. Actions speak louder than words. Out there trying to clean up, get sober. It'll be different this time. I promise, I promise, I promise. Look, people want to see action. This book is about action. It's about this, okay? Green for action. You don't get this without this. Talk is cheap. Show me, okay? In time, they will see that he is a new man, and in their own way, they will let him know it. When this happens, they can be invited to join in morning meditation, and then they can take part in the daily discussion without rancor or bias. I pray with my kid. It's just what I do. I'm not saying anyone out there has to do it, and the book's not saying you have to do it, but it is absolutely beneficial, okay? It has been for me. From that point on, progress will be rapid. Marvelous results will often follow such a reunion. It's like having your kid meet you for the first time. It's really cool. Or being the dad that they always thought you were, or that you may have been before, getting you back. Whether the family goes on a spiritual basis or not, the alcoholic member has to, and I have the words has to underlined, if he would recover. The others must be convinced is underlined, of this new status beyond the shadow of a doubt. Seeing is believing to most families who have lived with a drinker. Seeing is believing, underlined. Okay? I also believe that believing is seeing. You are out there bearing witness to other people that your life has changed. You've got a great relationship with your family. You're out there making money, having a good job. You're trustworthy. Wow. People seeing you change. They're going to believe it. If enough people are changing right in front of them, there it is. Seeing is believing. Believing is seeing. They both, have several different connotations in reference to what it is we're doing. It's like, I know in the beginning of my spiritual experience, some people thought it was an act. And I guess when you just see it happen to enough people, it's kind of hard to deny, the truth of what happens here, okay? Here's a case in point. One of our friends is a heavy smoker and coffee drinker. There was no doubt, he overindulged. Seeing this and meaning to be helpful, his wife commenced to admonish him about it. She's up his ass about it constantly, okay? He admitted he was overdoing these things, but frankly said that he was not ready to stop. Well, this happens a lot of times in families where the guy or gal stops drinking, but there's these other things going on that they're just not ready to stop yet, okay? His wife is one of those persons who really feels there is something rather sinful about these commodities, so she nagged. She's a wet blanket. She's on him about it, needling about it, you're smoking again, that type of thing. And her intolerance, let's go ahead and highlight that word, intolerance. An underrated word in the grand scheme of this program, intolerance. People struggle with this more than they know. I know sometimes I do. Her intolerance finally threw him into a fit of anger, and what happened? He got drunk. Of course, our friend was wrong. He was dead wrong. He had to painfully admit that and amend his spiritual fences. Though he is now a most effective member of Alcoholics Anonymous, he still smokes and drinks coffee. But neither his wife nor anyone else stands in judgment. Okay, that's important. There's only one person judging. It's God. I'm not here to judge other people. Husbands, wives, friends, neighbors, none of her business, okay? She sees she was wrong to make a burning issue out of such a matter when his more serious ailments were being rapidly cured, I have the word cured circled. I put a question mark next to that. It's the one place in the book that I believe it talks about, the solution to alcoholism as a cure rather than being recovered. To me, cured means permanently fixed. And again, when I think about recovered and in reference to alcoholism, permanent recovery, as far as the obsession to drink or drug or whatever it is being removed. But a cure is a fix-all. I always had a problem with that part of the book. And so I put a circle next to it with a question mark. But for me, it's more about being recovered. A lot of people may think there's no difference. There is no cure to alcoholism, but we have a spiritual path that will keep us from ever going back as long as we feed it and stay consistent about it. We have 3 little mottos which are apropos. They are: first things first, live and let live, and easy does it. Okay, first things first just means put God first. That's what it means. It doesn't mean go to a meeting first, or put God first. Okay, live and let live. It's like, look, that person's doing what they're doing, live and let live. It's really hard to stand in judgment and stand in the way of what other people are doing. It is tricky, though, that some discernment needs to definitely be used. I mean, there can come a point where live and let live can become apathy, and that gets really tricky. And easy does it. Go easy. It's like I used to be real stern about this and all about it. And, while I'm still all about it, but I'm more relaxed about it. You know what I mean? It's like, look, I live a spiritual life, and I have fun doing it. And the day that I know I'm not having fun doing it, I'm doing it wrong, and I go easy. I'm not so hard on myself anymore. God, I should have never said that.